Today I'm going to share another personal and sensitive part of my life. 9 years ago, I started on my first job with a starting salary of $1,600 Singapore dollars as a private uni graduate. And now in 2021, I am on my way hoping to achieve a net worth of $500,000 by end of this year. In this video, I'm going to share with you my journey, my career decisions, how much I earn at each stage, what I've learned, and how I eventually arrived to what I have now. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, now realize it started out by my partner Jingles and I. On this channel, we explore the realization about life and happiness as we pursue our goals. Today, I'm going to go through my past, my job history, and find out how the heck I arrived here today. Along the way, I'm going to share about what I've realized. So first, I would say that I'm very fortunate that I am born in Singapore and having very capable parents. My parents grew up poor and worked their way up, with whatever opportunities that they have. My mom stopped studying since she was 11 and 12 and started working since then. In a similar way, my dad studied till, I think, secondary school and then started working. So they both didn't have further education. By the time I was born, I would consider that I live in a middle class family. We live in HDBs. I grew up quite comfortably because I did not have to work when I was younger to get the things that I want, or that I need to work in order to contribute to my family expenses, or even to pay for my school education. My parents hustled hard, and they were the type of parents who would want to provide for their own parents as well as their children to have better lives. This was an advantage that I was born into, but also it was a disadvantage because I never had to work or learn how to struggle for the things that I want. All of these shaped my mindset and character towards money and life as I was growing up. In contrast, Jingles is not as fortunate as me. His family relies on a single income. He grew up with the mindset that in order to get what he wants, he needs to work for it. So once he was allowed to work, he worked. He became independent at a young age. After knowing Jingles, I've learned that many times I've taken things for granted and admire his grit and independence. As I mature, I realized that I was given an unfair advantage and lived in a bubble of entitlement, basically. I digress on this, but I think it might give you a bit of sensing how my mindset towards having a job or a career is like. Similar to many Gen Zs and right now the younger 20s, they have this movement called I don't dream of labor. I've seen many YouTubers deep diving about this topic, and I thought, yes, this was how I felt when I was younger. I wanted to add on with this discussion by sharing my own personal experience. Each of us experience life in a different way, and each of us have an unfair advantage. Being born in Singapore is an advantage. I don't dream of labor because I don't need more money to fulfill my basic needs. But on the other side, to someone who's born into poverty somewhere else in the world with no job, no opportunities, no roof over their head, or thinking of the next meal, perhaps having labor or work could be something they dream of. So I believe that the movement of I don't dream of labor is probably a first world problem. Traditionally, a fulfilling life means to find a well-paying job that offers security, simply to pay the bills. And if you enjoy it, you're one of the lucky ones. In 1930s, an economist called John Maynard predicted a 15-hour work week in the 21st century, which is around 2 days of work. He said that for the first time since creation, men will be facing this problem, how to occupy leisure. Living in a first world like Singapore, our basic needs like food and shelter could be easily met. Our work has evolved from a means of material production to identity production. This leads to my next point, that we are all in this status game and that most of our everyday actions can be traced back to some form of signaling and status seeking. This shapes our identity. Therefore, we often act in the interest of increasing our social status in our tribe, participate in identity production. Over time, we have an invisible scorecard comparing ourselves to others in a variety of contexts, be it our appearances, our school grades, number of likes and follows on social media, our wealth, and our brains deliberately hide this fact and deception through the guise of pursuing altruism, honor, and integrity. I guess this is part of our survival instinct. By signaling others and having a high status, people are more likely to work with you, take care of you, and to partner with you. So I'll be a hypocrite if I don't benchmark my own progress with the median score. The challenge is that with the rise of social media and how information can be quickly disseminated, we are no longer operating siloed in our own tribe. We are comparing to ourselves with what we see online. And there is a pressure when we only see the good side of people and their successes on social media. I'm not saying benchmark is bad, because there is goodness in it. You could learn the success that people have and be inspired positively so long it does not affect your mental health. So today, I'm putting myself out here with both my good and bad side. The good side is so that I hope that you could be inspired and be on this realization journey with us. And the bad side is to know that you could avoid all these mistakes that I've made, because we are all learning here after all. So if you think that there's anything that I'm wrong, tell me and I'll be happy to learn from your perspective. What I don't want is for jealousy, insecurity, stress or any anxiety that results from what I share. My first job was when I was 23 in the events industry. I was offered a salary of $1,600 Singapore dollars at an SME. I studied tourism and events in poly and uni, so I've always thought that events is something that I would like to do. After a while I got bored of what I was doing, because a lot of the time it involves me doing a lot of telemarketing, calling to companies, asking them whether they need events company to hold any events for their job. Like 80% of the time I was doing that, and I prefer a more balanced kind of job where I could still do execution instead of just calling people up. Furthermore, I did not have much guidance from the company, and after 6 months of learning what I needed to learn, I left. I was a naive and shy person, and that I did not bother to pursue the company when they did not pay my CPF and the entire time when I was there. And only during the last day of my work, I got triggered, because they were trying to be calculative in a sense that they wanted to deduct for my pay for something minor, for my last pay. And I've decided to ask for my CPF to be paid for the entire 6 months of my service in the end, since they were so calculative. By the way, employers have to pay for your CPF, and it is their legal responsibility. Now that I look back, I do feel that I was taken advantage of, but I'm glad that I left the company. After that, I went to become a wedding planner, and I did weddings during my uni internship in the Caribbean. And I wanted to do something more fulfilling, like weddings. I went to Google and I applied to the first company that appeared. There wasn't any job openings for the company, so I wrote a letter or email to the founder. The wedding company was actually managed by a one-woman show, and it was a tough business to be in, since hiring a wedding planner is not common in Singapore, and that it was quite hard to scale and make money. So since I was not offered a job, I was given an allowance of $500 per month. 10 months later, I wasn't able to make this gig work, and I did not have a livable pay, because I am seen as someone that is just helping out, even though I am doing a lot, almost like a full-time employee. My ex-boyfriend then told me that I was doing charity work. It was something that I enjoyed. I wasn't able to survive on $500, and there were no plans to try and scale, so I had to leave. So for the first year of my career, I basically did not earn anything other than doing charity and live off my parents for quite a bit. But other than that, I could not afford anything else. This was the first turning point for me. Money for me growing up is not something that I pursue. I do not dream of labor. I dream of pursuing my own passion, and like what many say, follow your passion and money would come. And guess what? It didn't for me, at least for the first year in my career. The Japanese has this concept called Ikigai, which is the purpose of living. There are 4 intersections. What do I love? What am I good at? What can I be paid for now? What does the world need? So obviously, what I was doing isn't something that I could be paid for. and therefore it wasn't something that I could do forever. I applied for another job as a wedding planner, but for a bigger company instead of a one-woman show before. My pay was $2,500 and I was satisfied with the pay as it was something that I could live on at that time. I was able to travel and pay for my own expenses, purchases, and not really living off my parents all the time. I was able to save up. After 6 months in the company, things felt weird. It was like an early stage of how an investment VC works. There was an investment arm in the company where the team always invite people who wants to invest to visit and to show them what the company was capable of. The company was expanding quickly from wedding to events businesses and F&B. At a point, there were multiple F&B restaurants opening at the same time. And I thought it was weird because there wasn't enough business in terms of customers and cash flow that would justify how rapidly the company is trying to grow. Just overall bad management. I left the company after a while. About 2 months later, the company actually closed down. So what I've learned is that starting a business is not easy. Anyway, I left the job without another job lined up, and instead I traveled for 2 months. I was 25 at that time and I thought I should settle down and avoid working for SME for the time being, since my previous experiences didn't end up well. I joined one of the transport companies in Singapore and my starting pay was $2,600 with bonuses. And I think in less than a year, I got pay raise and my pay was bumped up to $3,100. Furthermore, I was performing quite well in the company. I was rewarded and my bonuses was like a 5 months bonus on top of the 30 months. Yeah. That was when I realized that I was saving more and more money and my money in my bank was growing. I knew I needed to do something about it, and that's where I started on my financial journey. This new job gave me the freedom to pursue even more things that I like. I had time and money to go traveling, to learn floristry, and eventually using my free time to start a side business selling wedding flowers. I began to understand that work perhaps do not have to be my passion. After working for about a year and a half, I got an internal transfer within the same company for a sales role. And this sales role was much different from what I experienced before. It was when I discovered that a sales job is one of the hardest mentally, but also one of the most rewarding jobs. We were not paid by the hours, but paid by the decisions and the result we get or make. The world rewards you for the outcomes, not the effort. And that's especially true for a sales job. You're also not bounded by time. For that job, my pay was increased to $3,500. On top of that, I get commissions as well as transport allowances. So these all adds up. Anyway, I left working in sales after 1.5 years. It was the longest time I have clocked in a single company, which is 3 years. And that was a lot of time, considering that my previous job did not last more than a year. I had a bad experience with one of my bosses who I think pushed integrity aside to make decisions based on chasing numbers and meeting sales targets. I also hated sales meeting where people have to report their sales numbers and get grilled when things are out of your control sometimes. So it gives me a lot of anxiety, stress, even though I was earning quite a significant amount. And so I left and took a break for 3 months before starting my current job at 28 years old. This is where I need to be a little bit more vague on my salary because I'm not too comfortable to share right now. Maybe in the future. Overall, the salary was lower than my previous job since my current company is a SME and I do not get like a 13-month bonus, but in place of that, I do get a commission based on the projects that were in place. What I enjoyed was that I have a good work-life balance. My bosses are Europeans and there is a strong balance of work-life culture. I get to look forward to my weekends and of course, looking forward to getting things done on Mondays compared to dreading my Monday meetings. in my previous job. I rarely work overtime, and even if I do, it's usually because I had to do meetings outside of my time zone with people in the West Coast or in Europe. This job made me discover that I really enjoy working with people all around the world and to understand their work culture, their communication style. I also enjoy keeping up with trends, news in companies, which does help me in choosing what companies I would like to invest. My role is within the business development, partnerships, and marketing within the creative entertainment industry. It is a really exciting role to be in because it is fun. But during my first year in this company, things was actually moving very, very slowly that I got bored. There was nothing that challenged me and I had a lot of time. I got so bored with work that I started to scale on my side hustle, which is my floral hobby, where I work with wedding florals. Eventually, I had to cope with back-to-back weddings almost every other weekends, and I ended up not having enough sleep until I got tired of it. My hobby has morphed into something very different. Maybe it's the volume of flowers that I had to do, and that became unsustainable, and no longer I was enjoying flowers as a hobby. I wonder perhaps that because there's money involved, it goes into a very grey area. It's like eating too much of your chocolate cake until you get sick of it. One slice is enough and I don't need the entire cake. So this time, I realized that perhaps Ikigai could be a combination of various things that we pursue in life. Our jobs, our hobby, our relationships. It is much easier to put my work and my hobby into separate categories instead of making our jobs fit into all four molds. Because I felt stagnant during my first year, I started looking at other opportunities which could help me grow and progress. My friend had asked me to join her at her company, and I got a job offer which was about a 15 to 30% increment in my annual salary. However, it wasn't a particularly exciting company to be in. Even though I could see myself growing in the company, I also liked the people there. Before that, I even had lunch with my future colleagues and I was ready to go. I thought with the pay increment and the good colleagues will make the job fun. So I informed my bosses to let them know that I found a new job. What they did was they tried to match the salary as well as for me to change into a new portfolio. It was a tough choice, but I ended up staying. I started to love what I do. I'm glad that I did not leave my current company for another company with higher pay because the new portfolio was a much better fit for me and I performed better. I have a fulfilling career that is a right balance between the challenge and the skills that I have. It was like being in the flow state. Right now, I'm in my current company for 4.5 years. So yeah, this is how my career path looks like. I started with following my passion and exploring what I like, trying out different things in different roles during the early part of my career. I didn't have much expectations for myself, but focused more on whether I'm able to grow and learn at each of the companies. I believe the tipping point was when I started to earn about $2,500 per month and where I started to invest. Even after my pay increases, my lifestyle pretty much stays the same, but I would save even more, leading to where am I today? Chasing after my stretch target of $500,000, which I may not be able to achieve if I just depend on my job. If you're curious on our journey, seeing where I'm heading, stay tuned and subscribe. Bye.